The Yamaha Rhino is the original side-by-side, and it has a huge following. And this is a 2011 we have here as an example, and with 18,000 kilometers or 11,000 miles original powertrain, I can see why. Hey guys, I'm Rick, the Honest Mechanic, and today we're going to be tearing into this original belt at that mileage. Remember, 18,000 kilometers, 11,000 miles, and see what it looks like, because this is my father-in-law's machine. If you've watched the channel before, worked on it before. So it's slipping, something's going on, and we don't know what it is yet. So let's get into it. All right, well, let's start by removing the seats, nice and easy. And that's followed by the doghouse. And this is actually kind of convenient because so far, no required tools. No hardware holding anything in place. And right down here is the CVT. Got a whole pile of 10mm bolts. So let's start ripping those out. Before we tear into those, we should probably undo the ductwork here. A couple of clamps for the intake. And we got one over here. This one's a little bit fun to get at since it's at an angle. Let's get my stubby. So my camera person wonders how I'm ever going to get anything out with this little guy, but look at this tiny little thing, but it's doing what I needed to. Definitely not as easy as a regular screwdriver, but look how cute this is. Well, you know that clamp's not going back in that orientation, but we're off now. Should be able to spin it a little bit. Now we're going to crack these two free. And I should go get myself a magnetic bowl. Maybe we should have washed this before we started, but here we are now. Okay, that clamp is completely loose, but it doesn't want to go. This ductwork is glued. It's not actually glued, but it feels like it. It's been on here forever. There we go. Ooh, that one really doesn't want to let go. There she is. Ooh, look at the dirt inside. That's not good. Crazy. Oh, yeah, all right. We'll be giving that a rinse. And now we can start taking all of these bolts out. And I can already see some of them are going to be almost impossible to get to. Alright, so there's two bolts that I can't get to. There's one over here and there's one on the bottom, so we're going to have to take this panel off, but that's not too bad because we got two screws here and all along the side of the cup holder, and then we'll be alright. This should just come out now. I said should, right? Doesn't mean it's actually going to be super easy. You know, I just did a 660 Rhino not so long ago. I did that clutch kit, and it was much easier to get to the clutch. I'm not sure why, but there were certain things that were different. Well, you can't be gentle with this part because it was stuck in there pretty good. But she's out, and now the final two. I lied. I forgot. There's some more screws holding the center housing right over here. These are easily accessible. Got one and the two. Now this should be loose. Oh yes. So, what do we think we have in here? Is it going to be terrible? Because it's slipping. So, hopefully it's the belt. And nothing else. Oh no. Again, not like the 660 where it just fell right out. It actually came apart pretty easy. I'm going to have to take the frame member out. Differences between the 660 and the 700. So, the 700 clearly has a cup holder set up here and The 660 does not, or can't remember exactly. But I didn't have to remove this because the coil setup wasn't here. I think the coil is up over here somewhere. And the intake is different. Differences for sure. Which one do I prefer? I actually like the 660. I'm kind of a fan of carburetors though, so. That was a bit tighter. Oh yeah, of course, one has to be really tight.
That's on the earplugs.
I know, it's noisy. And there's plastic rivets now. I mean, really? Okay, if I had to rate the clutch removal, or sorry, the belt inspection or removal between the two, clearly the 660. I'll link that video too, because you guys might like that, where I installed a aftermarket clutch kit, and whether it was worth it or not, but we've been driving it around all summer, and I think it's better. I really enjoy it. Lowers the RPM a little bit, quite a bit more speed, and overall just feels better, more performance. All right, that should be it. No, if it's not, I swear, the video's done. You guys, see you later. No, I'm kidding. We're getting to it. One thing we are going to have to do though, is we are going to mark these two wires, because I'm going to disconnect them, and then I'll just undo the wire for the spark plug right up here, because that will make it just easier for us. And I should just be able to clip it like that. Let's go get a little marker. I'm just going to use a track marker for when you do stud installs on your track for your snowmobile. I'm just going to put a dot here, and I'm going to put a dot on the actual wire. Very nice close-up. Thank you. And then we're going to undo it that way. And then we know, going back together, that that's the way they go. Another way I've done it in the past is I've used tie wraps, colored tie wraps, I've colored tape. Yeah, nail polish would work too. But this is what we're going to do today. So this, look at that, comes out off to the side. We'll put that in the footwell. Now, let me go get some lights, because this is like the big finale, the big reveal. All right, lights, camera, action. We've got 18,000 kilometers on this belt, and we've got a slipping issue, so I don't foresee a nice looking belt here. What do we have? What? That doesn't look bad at all. I swear, if I can't take this cover off. There we go. Come on, Rick. What are you doing? You look silly right now.
You always look silly.
Yeah. This is true. It's like literally stuck right there. I don't know what's going on. Aha. Here we go. We got it. Okay. And that was kind of uneventful, because I totally anticipated a grenaded belt. I mean, guys, this belt's not even showing heat checking or cracks. So why would it be slipping? It doesn't show any hourglassing? I mean, other than me putting dust on it right now, it's in good shape. Oh, we got a little crack. You see that there?
Wait.
A little bit of heat checking.
Where? Oh,
right here. That's so far the worst I've seen, but that's not terrible. So I think what we're going to do...
Oh no, there's like little cracks everywhere.
Is there? Oh yeah, I see them now. Yeah, I do see them now. Well, I mean, this is not a new belt, but normally you see way worse. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to remove the primary holder, then we'll remove the primary, and then take the belt off to see What, maybe the issue is in the primary? Maybe it's all gummed up or something? Because at this point, I don't know what's going on. Weird. Okay, so one thing to note, guys, is this is not like a typical snowmobile CVT setup. This is considered a transmission where the belt is always engaged with pressure on it at all times. So certain brands like Kawasaki, Polaris, they use a traditional CVT system where when you give it some throttle and the RPMs close the clutch, they close onto the belt. This is always engaged. There's a primary clutch in the engine in the wet bath, right? So it's a wet clutch that engages and does all that for you. So that's the primary engagement, and then it's connected directly to a shaft and then turns the transmission, which is the belt. So if it's slipping, my concern, without seeing any damage here in the belt area, it could be internal, and that is not what I want to hear. A couple of bolts holding the holder here. Et voila. Now, we're just going to need, I think that's a 21, and we're going to pull that whole assembly out, bring it on the bench, and at the same time we're also going to look at the belt closer. But let's take a quick look at this. This seems pretty good. There's a little pilot bearing in here, and it's hard to tell, but we're going to examine that as well once it's all cleaned up. Actually, it was a 22 mil. Just like that. Now it's important, so you got the washer as well. It's important to try and keep everything together as one assembly. Just makes it easier to put back away. And these are usually filled with some grease. We're going to take it apart later just to take a look inside. But there's usually an O-ring in here. You've got some grease and then your weights. So that's how that works. And now for the belt, which should slide off. Just like that. The other thing that's important to note is the orientation. Some of these will have an arrow, and this one does have an arrow. So you want to make sure you put it back the same way it was. And if you're never sure, usually if there's writing, such as this writing, I know that says 74D, and it's facing me so I can read it. So we're going to put it like that. All right, pardon the mess, guys. I am in the middle of a couple of videos, really. But we're concentrating on this one today. So what I've taken out is my surface plate. It's actually not a true surface plate. It's just a granite countertop from actually my in-laws when they did their kitchen. So it's perfectly flat. Checked it with a couple of straight edges. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check to see if this belt has any kind of hourglassing, and we're going to determine whether it's still usable. So because this is perfectly flat, if I shine a light right there, as you can tell, the light goes through and then it doesn't go through in other spots. Still does, but not as bad, I should say. So this has definitely got an hourglass in this area. We're going to look for more. See, it doesn't seem so bad there. Oh, and it comes back. So that's on this side. If I flip it, again, there's no real rhyme or reason or perfect way of checking bolts. This is just visually see. Okay, I'm going to find that spot eventually here. It seems to be a little bit more light there. And upon further inspection with a nice bright light, if we start looking at this, actually last time on camera this bright was too light. This light was too bright. Let's see if I can dim it down a little bit. Got a dark background here, but it's toast. This belt's toast. Not only is it huge heat checks in here, actually, how about you turn the camera light on as well? There's huge heat checking all the way around the belt. It's pretty severe. like that one, for example. That's pretty bad. And also the edges are very sharp. If I was to run my finger over the edge this way, you can see, maybe you can see it on camera, but you can see that it's thinned out and worn straight up. So, not bad for that much mileage. Like I said, 11,000 miles. However, it's due. So we're going to order a new belt, put it back, and see if it goes for a ride. Oh, and by the way, I was actually able to make it squeal, because that's what my father-in-law was telling me. Under high stress, if you're pulling a heavy trailer or something like that, or if he's going up a hill, it would squeal. And I was able to duplicate that before we took anything apart. So, and that makes sense now, because the belt is, well, she's seen her days. It's a couple days later, guys, and I have a brand new belt. Now let's open up the package, take a couple of measurements, because I'm curious to see how much this old one has worn. Okay, so nice and new, smells fantastic. Actually, no, it smells kind of funny because it's rubber smelling. So if we measure the new one, if I zero my caliper here and we go up here, we have 32.3 millimeters, or that's 1.2 inches. And if we go to the old one, we've got in millimeters, we have 30.6. So just so you guys can see it as well, 30.6 versus 32.2, which doesn't sound like a lot, but 2 millimeters can obviously make the difference between your belt slipping or not. And it's pretty obvious as well that this one doesn't have all of the heat checks and all that stuff. That, I mean, when you look at them up close, this one's in really bad shape. Hopefully this will cure the problem, because we're going to put it in right now. But one thing I like to do as well is I'd like to remind everybody that there is a little bit of a break-in procedure when it comes to these belts. You want to make sure that you follow whatever the manufacturer states. But because I'm handling this with my bare hands, I also like to take a minute with a clean rag. I'll use some parts cleaner and just wipe the belt a little bit, not excessively. Now we know it's nice and dry. Reinstall it, and then we'll go for a ride. So when it comes to reinstalling all of the stuff in here, like the belts and what you saw earlier in the video, I'm not going to bore you with all the details, because it's going to be literally the opposite of the disassembly. One thing I'm going to make sure I do is I'm going to take my air compressor with a blowgun, and I'm just going to blow out all of the belt dust that's caught up inside these belts. And then I'm going to do the same thing with some parts cleaner and a clean rag. I'm going to wipe the surfaces of the sheaves, reinstall the belt, make sure that my nut is torqued properly, my carrier is also torqued properly, belt cover's on, and then we should be good to go. Yes, I know, I just finished telling you I wasn't going to bore you with the details of the reinstallation. However, this is an important bit of information that I think I should bring forward. So, as you can see, I've removed the fan on the secondary, and I've installed one of the bolts here into one of the holes. And what I've done is I've just tightened it up. It's not quite all the way tight, but this allowed the belt to sit into the sheave and allow a little bit more slack on the belt, because it was really tight if I didn't do that. The reason that's important is because right over here on the primary, when I push it, I'm going to try and do this with one hand. Oh, and I just lost my light. When I push this in, there's a spline, and if you try and draw it in with just a nut, you're going to mess it up. So you got to push it in until the spline mates, just like that. Then you can reinstall the nut. I'm telling you guys, if you draw it in with the nut and it's not splined properly, you will mess up that cam plate and you're not going to be happy because it's not going to operate properly. So yeah, the rest of it is not that bad. So you're going to have to, obviously when you're done torquing this up, remove this bolt, reinstall the fan, torque that up as well, and then everything else is the same. Hey guys, it's yet another day. Everything is back together. We're going to take this out for a rip. Wait a minute, for a ride. I'm not sure, maybe that whole terminology is copyrighted. I hope it's not. And we're going to see if changing the belt is going to solve the issue. We're going to put it through a couple of tests. I think I'm just going to do a little bit of a brake torque to make sure that it doesn't slip. I'm going to do that after I break it in, of course. And you guys also might be noticing that I'm wearing a very loud Metallica t-shirt. And the reason for that is because they happen to be one of my favorite bands, probably the favorite band if I was to list one. And they're the people that I listen to off camera, because I can't, always be playing music during the filming because of, again, copyright issues. Which begs the question, what do you guys listen to when you're working away in the shop or elsewhere? What is your favorite type of music? I love everything, but I'd like you guys to list it down below, put it in the comment section, because I'm kind of interested. With all that said, guys, let's get this fired up. Let's go for a ride. All right, guys, so we're just going for a little ride here, just kind of breaking it in. I'm trying to vary the RPM and I'm trying to vary the speeds. So I've chosen a trail that allows me to do that. One thing about these rhinos, I've mentioned it before, I don't even know if they can even hear me at this point because they're kind of loud. But either way, I find that even though they're the original side-by-side, they're probably still one of the best out there. They're doing the job really well. So let's go for a ride, see what it's like, and we'll put it through the test. So one thing I did notice, because I have driven this thing before a few times, with the new belt, it feels like it's way more, you can kind of see the camera jerking, it seems more connected. It actually engages much quicker, and the RPMs are a little bit lower, so that's kind of neat. So I think it's done its job. Alright, so one thing, he mentioned that when he was going up a hill that was pretty steep, or if he was towing a heavy trailer, that he could feel the transmission or the belt slipping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my foot on the brake here, and I've got it in high gear, and with a lot of brake pressure, I'm just going to kind of try and get this to move since the belt is somewhat broken in now, and it should just kind of override the brakes. Let's try it. Sorry, camera Gabby, all right? Sorry. No, it's working just fine. There's no slippage there at all. This thing is wicked now. All right, guys, so we've been driving around for a little bit. I can't seem to find any problems with the belt. Everything seems to be working much better. I think it's right back to where it used to be when it was brand new. So I'm super happy with that, and I think my father-in-law is going to be super happy with that as well. So I'm going to end the video here, and I want to thank you guys for watching. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. And as always, make sure you have a great day out there. Oh, and that reminds me, I got to do the tip of the day. So I guess today's tip of the day is make sure that you don't over-analyze anything when you're doing any kind of diagnosing. I just put on a short video for my dad's generator, which could have easily have been a misdiagnosis if you were to overlook anything. So when you're doing your troubleshooting, always make sure you start from A, work your way to B, don't jump to Z, and you should be alright. So again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Catch you all in the next video. Have an awesome day.